Hi everyone. So, I have a confession to make, but it's probably pretty obvious already because if you're looking at the footage and thinking, Lei forgot to film herself painting the background, then yes, I did do that, but the background is a pretty standard gradient, so you didn't really miss much. Oh, and no, you aren't imagining things. I really did succeed at using masking fluid on my character and still managing to get the blue from the background everywhere. I'm so graceful with watercolor. This is one of the pieces I inked as part of Inktober 2017, and I'd printed it sometime in December 2017, thinking I would paint it then, thus why the signature says 17 instead of 18. I'm not even sure when I drew this one, since it is the same piece that I originally inked for my traditional inking tutorial back when I was starting to put together footage I wanted to create videos with, but wasn't really making videos yet. So it's probably from 2016, realistically. Anyway, so I printed it and never painted it in December, even though December was supposed to be the month of finishing Inktober work. That isn't what happened. Instead, I did a bunch of reviews because I was still dealing with Inktober burnout from October, exacerbated by NaNoWriMo burnout from November. I did start the background sometime in December, and then it just sat in my office for almost 2 months. Another reason why I didn't finish this until now is that the light has been so bad, and I haven't been able to deal. I think I've improved my lighting situation in a very cheap DIY way, and hopefully this video looks a bit better as a result. The crazy thing about filming for art videos is that you really need to take as much light as you think you need, and then double it, because it really won't be enough. You need to practically be seeing spots by the time you finish filming. Before I go any further into this video, I do want to mention that it's probably going to sound a tad negative. I'm going to discuss my experience with this painting, and it really wasn't all good, but I'm not trying to be a downer on my art. I'm still learning watercolor, and I still consider myself a beginner at it, so I make a lot of mistakes and mess up in places, and I want you to know what those are, so hopefully if you're also learning, you can learn from what I've done wrong. I wanted a lot more for this piece than what it gets, but you'll see soon enough. This painting felt like an exercise in frustration. I wouldn't say at any point I thought I should start over because then you wouldn't see all the blatant mistakes I made, but I definitely had something I wanted to achieve with this painting that I did not achieve, and that is to feel like I have some control over the watercolors. I mean, I understand watercolors are fickle and changeable and you can't really control them, but what I mean is that I wish I had some kind of technique that worked. I feel like I should be able to get it to kind of do what I want it to do, to get some really seamless blends and create smooth gradients in the color, and I'm just not getting that. I know I'm super new to this, so I am mostly to blame, but I also think it might be the paper I'm using. I'm using Fabriano Artistico Extra White for this piece, and I think the hot press is just too smooth to work with. I know that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I'm sure anyone who has used watercolors understands where I'm coming from. The smoother paper shows every mistake and every seam where the color has dried, and I'm under the impression from my research and from watching videos that you don't get that with cold press paper, as much anyway. I do have some cold press paper that a friend gave me a while ago, so I'll definitely be trying it again, and hopefully I'll achieve what I need to achieve. I also have Arch's hot press paper, which is supposed to be one of the nicest hot press papers on the market, so I may try that too. I've just, when you have an expensive art supply, you tend to not want to use it because you're terrified you're going to ruin it. So, in case you couldn't tell, for an example of where things went wrong, the skin. I really wanted smooth, soft skin, but that was not going to happen. The moon was also an exercise in futility. I laid down color hoping the watercolor would work with me instead of against me to create the modeling that sort of are all the craters and textures of a moon. I even tried salt, hoping that that would mimic the sort of texture better, but it all just turned into a muddy mess. In the end, the moon is far too dark, but I think the yellow glow sort of helped to pull it all together. That's the thing with watercolor. Actually, it's the same way with a number of art mediums. Sometimes when you fix up your lines, or add line art if you don't have any, and add the white highlights, everything pulls together and looks far better, which is definitely the case with this piece. Some art just has a super ugly moment where you want to give up because it's not what you wanted and you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's actually also the same with makeup. Sometimes your eyeshadow look is utter trash, but throwing on some eyeliner and mascara can really salvage a mess. Random makeup tip. You're welcome. Sometimes the best thing for an artist to be is stubborn. I know I've been super down on myself and on this painting so far, but I am proud of myself for not restarting this piece. I saw it through to the end and it turned out okay. Not fantastic, but it's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine. Oh, because we're at that point now, the hair gave me grief. I painted this over the span of 3 days, and I couldn't imagine how to shade Art Nouveau style hair with watercolor. I know artists who do it and do so very effectively, but for some reason I couldn't wrap my brain around it. I decided to do a gradient of brown into purple as if she'd colored her hair and it was starting to grow out. Very Chloe from Life is Strange, if you get that reference. One of my favorite game series. I don't recall overworking the paper trying to get that gradient, but apparently I did, because the paper there now has a weird texture, and when I tried to conceal the weird texture with more paint, it just ended up making the paint come off in splotches, which is not what I expected. This entire video is starting to make me sound really stupid at watercolor, isn't it? The thing is, I really, really want to learn. I want to be able to create watercolor paintings effectively. So clearly I need to practice more, and clearly I need to stop using final pieces as trial runs. Oh, and I clearly need to stop biting off more than I can chew. I do feel like I'm getting better. I think there's improvement between this and my Sailor Pluto piece, which was the last watercolor I did. Maybe not huge improvement, but I think it's better. I have an incredibly shaky hand, so trying to do a more cel-shaded style like I did with Sailor Pluto doesn't work for me. I also overworked a lot of areas on that painting and got the weird paper texture thing. I almost got away without doing that to this one too, except for the hair. Actually, having been looking back at the footage, I realize a lot of my issues stem from not mixing a dark enough color for the shadows. I keep going in too light and then trying to fix it with yet more color, and that doesn't really work. It just ends up overworked and muddy. Watercolor dries way lighter than how it looks wet, and I need to be bolder with the tones I'm using and trust that it will dry very differently. In the timeline of Ley, this painting is maybe my 4th or 5th created with watercolor, and I haven't really done a lot of practicing in between. And that's not how you learn a new medium. Don't do that. I need to stop diving in headfirst because this is improvement, but it's a very, very slow improvement, and half of it is me trying to course correct mistakes so my painting doesn't end up looking like a hideous mess. Can we have a moment of appreciation for the dioxazine purple I used in her hair? I really just wanted an excuse to use that paint, and dang, I am not disappointed. Stains like crazy though. Even with brush soap, that brush I used is never going to be the same. Speaking of brushes, that brush is a size 9 brush I'm using from Artist Loft, and I'm super impressed how well it held its shape. Since it's such a budget brush, I expected it to start splaying all over the place with all the blending I was attempting to do, but nope, it was a trooper. A+ brush, A+. So On that kind of positive note, I'm basically done the painting. I tried using white acrylic to add highlights, but the brush I used did not want to hold its shape, so I switched to a white gel pen, which showed up really well against the watercolor. I was very impressed. That is it for today. As always, thank you so much for listening to me ramble and for watching me paint. I am glad I'm documenting my learning process since I know one day I'll be able to look back on this video and laugh and probably cringe a lot. It's fine, guys. It's fine. I create new art videos every Friday, and I hope to see you next week. Thank you for watching. Bye!